the moving average strategy suggests that when a price, if you calculate the fast and slow moving average of a price, when those two averages cross over each other, it signals whether to put a buy or a short in. And you can capture returns by these moving averages crossing over each other again and again across time. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense when I verbalize it, but let's go ahead and visualize it and talk through the code and understand it better. And we can back test this strategy using VectorBT. I haven't used VectorBT a whole lot in my time, but I know it's a popular backtesting package, so I thought I'd give it a try, especially on a very popular strategy as moving average. And it's pretty easy to implement. It's actually super easy to implement. So once we get everything installed, we can just get our pretty basic amount of things here. We don't even really need date time. I just like using date time to calculate the 5-year spread here. And once it's all imported, we can get our portfolio. If you've seen previous videos, you know that I like using this portfolio because I picked a bunch of S&P 500 stocks randomly, and this one tended to perform the best. So we grab the close for each of those on each day, and we calculate the fast and slow. And I think this is where I was going to explain what it looks like. So let's just take a look at the first Accenture here. And once this finishes, I'll explain what it looks like. So here we have each date, and we have for the ticker the closing price for Accenture across time. And we're going to calculate the fast and slow moving average. VectorBT does this for you. But if you wanted to do it just without any back testing thing, you could just create the rolling average and setting a fast being 10 and the rolling being 30. Cool, so now you have these data points here, which is taking the rolling average, between this date and this date and doing the fast and slow. And when we plot it, you can see here that the orange is fast, the green is slow, and you see this cross point here. And it doesn't cross back over until up here. So what this is saying is that you should put in a buy around here because this fast moving average is eventually going to dip back below the slow moving average. And you can see it does here. So it does seem to capture, like if you put in a buy here, it would capture the buy up until this point and sell. And then you'd go short here and then it'd dip back up here. And it doesn't really do well with this crossover here, this volatility up here in November, December of 2020. That makes sense. 2020 was a pretty radical year, although I guess it happened like earlier in the year. But nevertheless, you can see that the idea here is, hey, this slow moving average has dipped below the fast moving average. So let's put in a buy. And then we capture this whole bear run here, or geez, what am I saying? We capture this whole bull run here. And when it starts going back under later in the year, we signal to our algorithm to put in the sell. And we capture that gain right there. Cool, so now you understand the idea of fast and slow moving average strategy. And the nice thing about the VectorBT is it has built in this crossed over above and below for your entries and exits. So it's very simple to capture your entry and exit points using VectorBT. So we calculate that and it just creates a Boolean like on this day, did you put in any true or did you put any entry or exits on any of these days for any of these stocks? So that's another thing that's nice about this VectorBT is if you were going to calculate this all out for every stock, this might be kind of your data frame could get really bloated, but in this case, you just create a true or false in your entries data frame. And the same thing goes for your exits data frame. And then you just pass through your entries and exits and your prices. And VectorBT has a portfolio from signals to calculate the performance of it. and we'll let it do its thing here. And then we're gonna calculate the total return, grouping by our ticker, getting the average of those returns on those tickers, and then plotting it as a bar chart for each ticker. And then we will compare our returns for each ticker versus just holding it. So we can do a from holding, pass through our prices, pass through our frequency, the total returns group by average, and plot it the same way. Looks like I have an extra thing there, so let's go ahead and do that. And you can see on a couple of these, like Bank of New York and Intuit, I think is that ticker, that we actually like had negative returns on that. We had really good returns for Eli Lilly 1.75 using this strategy. But strategy is all relative. So let's compare our returns, our average returns using the moving average strategy versus our actual, whether if we just bought and hold the portfolio from beginning to end in the time. Like what would our returns be there? And you can see it's like good. So with the exception of Bank of New York, which had some negative returns, our Eli Lilly had a return of 5. So if we would have just not bought and sold it a bunch of times throughout that time and just held it, our returns would have been much greater. And that's true across the board. You can see that we're all hovering around a 1% return versus, um, you know, barely hitting a 2 up here. We're hitting 5 there. This one hit above 1, not even hitting above 1 there. So this is a really simple way of doing the moving average strategy and just calculating and back testing it. You are placing a lot of trust in whether VectorBT is doing everything that you would expect under the hood. But in my opinion, and I think most people in the algorithmic finance world would agree, VectorBT is like a solid package for performing this kind of analysis. I do have a little link here. If you download the notebook and you find it helpful, consider going over here and supporting me. It helps prevent accepting sponsors. It helps just keeping the what do you want to call it? It helps me continue to make these videos essentially. I really just do this for your guys' support, and yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it. Well, maybe we'll make some other videos using more interesting, more volatile stocks to see if this strategy would work in a different environment. But I will see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye.